Sup, y'all, and welcome to Press On Sports. I'm Jack Vita. Today, man, it's going to be a really fun show. Last show, Evan Myers was with me. We talked some NBA. It's been a couple weeks since we did a little more hockey stuff. So today, I'm bringing back Sam Quiat. He's with me right now on the line. Sam, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you, Jack?
I'm good, man. Are you ready for some hockey talk?
I am. Let's get down to it.
So, yes, Sam and I will be breaking down some stuff that we saw since the last time we talked, which was about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, two and a half weeks ago. I think 2 days before the playoffs started.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks ago. Today is May 2nd. It's a Wednesday, I believe, right?
Yep, it's a Wednesday.
Beautiful outside, by the way.
It is gorgeous outside. 84 degrees. You know, if we could get a cool breeze rolling in, it would be the perfect spring day.
Yes. And we got to enjoy a fun spring day at the Brewers game about a week ago.
We did. That was a good time. We got to go up to beautiful Miller Park. In my opinion, you know, one of the most beautiful parks in all of baseball. It's just such a lovely stadium. It's always a good time up there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Evan and I talked a little bit about our experience there on the last podcast. Sam was there too. Got the whole most of the podcast crew together. No Jordan, but yeah, lots of fun there. It's like a little Press On Sports retreat.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
We should do that more often.
Yeah, I'm down for that. It'd be a lot of fun. So. So I was just basically thinking, for those of you who are listening, we had, I was thinking right now, busy time of year, and it's a good time to alternate between basketball coverage and hockey coverage, and then sprinkle in some baseball in there too. Those are, in my opinion, the most interesting things going on in sports right now. Sam, you didn't watch the NFL draft, did you?
I saw bits and pieces. I saw enough, of Cleveland's fumbles, even when they're not actually playing football. You know, they set the Broncos up very nicely. But other than that, I like football and all, but the draft to me is kind of like the game of football itself. There's a whole lot of talk and not enough action.
Hot take there.
Yeah, very hot take. But I mean, the evidence backs it up when you have 12 minutes of play in a 60-minute game.
Well, Sam, the way I look at it is, I mean, I like football when we're in season. It's fun and whatnot. I'm not like a crazy football fan, but yeah, I follow football. But if there are live sports on, playoff sports, I'm going to opt to watch those instead of the draft.
Oh, yeah. Every time, especially when, ESPN will just push the notification through to your phone every 15 minutes on who was drafted. I mean, until my team gets
Twitter.
up. Yeah, exactly. Until my team gets up, until the Denver Broncos actually come up to pick, what do I care about seeing Baker Mayfield's highlights for the past 3 years?
Yeah, it's very exciting for some people. And at one point, I was a lot more invested in the NFL draft. It was when it was on Saturday mornings and there wasn't anything else on. I got more excited about it.
Well, easy on nothing else. Come on, the Premier League's on.
Yeah, okay. Well, they were televising the Premier League then.
True.
As much. Not as big a spot.
True, not as big a spot as it is now with NBC.
Yeah, and then the other part of it, Sam, is being a Steelers fan. The Steelers have picked in the top 10 one time over the last, 28 years. So there's not a lot of action there or interest for me.
Yeah.
Because they're going to grab those guys in the 5th or 6th round, and then we'll find out about them in 2 years, and it'll all be good.
Yep. They'll be back to winning Super Bowls.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully. But, so let's do this. Let's do some hockey talk. Sam,
let's do that hockey.
Yeah, let's do it. So I was going to say real quick. So hopefully we'll have Sam back on again in a couple weeks or so. This could be a good format that we can follow, alternating between hockey and basketball each week.
Yeah, do a little Cup final preview.
Yeah, we're moving along pretty quick. Sam, catch us up on what has happened since the last time we talked. Catch everyone up on what's happened the first round, and now as we're moving into the first part of the second round.
Yeah. So for those that missed the first round of the playoffs, there were some fantastic series. Vegas.
Shame on you.
Shame on me. What did I do wrong this time?
No. Shame on you if you missed the first round of the playoffs.
I figured shame on me. Come on. I know I picked against my own team to get swept, and I'm happy they didn't. But come on. I mean, how can you not predict against the Abs there against the best team in hockey?
Hey, no, I'm just saying. Hey, if you missed out on the first round of the playoffs, you are missing out because it's pretty great.
Shame on you. You missed out on a bunch of goals, a bunch of hard hits, some spectacular saves, and one thrilling Game 7.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thrilling for Boston fans. Toronto want to live it over again.
Hey, that was a good tease there, Sam, so keep going.
All right, well, what you missed in the first round, like I just said, Boston and Toronto went 7 games, the only series in the first round to go 7 games. Boston went up 3-1 in that. Toronto saved themselves from elimination in Boston in Game 5, went back to Toronto, won Game 6, and I actually thought they had a chance to go back to Boston and take Game 7. But in the end, the Bruins were too much, and they just beat up on Toronto in Game 7. They outshot them. They outscored them pretty badly in that game. And in the end, their reward's getting to face Tampa Bay, who, as we are talking right now, Boston is losing to Tampa Bay in Game 3. But we'll get to that later on.
Sam, Boston's a pretty deep team, wouldn't you say?
They're pretty deep. Coming into the playoffs, I was nervous for them. I questioned them to get through Toronto. I questioned how much they actually wanted it. After the final game of the year, if they had won against Florida at home, they would have been the first place team in the division, and they would have got an easier first round matchup. But instead, they just let it slip away, and I questioned how much they actually wanted it. But Boston does have some depth. Guys like Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, Zdeno Chara still on the blue line, Jacob DeBrusk, Charlie McAvoy, and of course Tuukka Rask in net.
Yeah,
they're a very deep team. Add-on of Rick Nash at the trade deadline was another great move for them.
Nice piece there.
Yeah, great pickup for them for Steele. But I fear that against Tampa Bay, they might not be able to get it done. Tampa Bay, though, in the first round, they beat New Jersey. They took care of them pretty easily, 4-1. They beat them in the series. The thing that scares me, though, about Tampa Bay is, in the second round, you're playing the Boston Bruins. You're not playing the New Jersey Devils. And no disrespect to the Devils. They had a fantastic season from where they were predicted to end up. Any team that goes from the first overall pick to making the playoffs the next year, it was a successful year by anyone's standards.
Win a couple playoff games, too.
This is the Boston Bruins. Yeah, win a playoff game too. It's great, but it's the Boston Bruins. You're not playing the New Jersey Devils. You have all those guys I just mentioned. You have an actual goalie you're going up against. The thing that's going to determine this series for Tampa Bay is, can their power play stay red hot? Their power play is deadly. They move the puck very well around the edge. But the thing that they have to do is they have to get their top guys going. Kucherov and Stamkos need to get going and stay hot. Kucherov has 10 points through 7 games, but it just seems like he hasn't been out there at all. In the second series, he's kind of gone dead so far. Stamkos has 1 goal through 8 games here in the playoffs. You need him to get hot and stay hot. Tyler Johnson coming into tonight had 4 points. Braden Point had 6 assists, which was good for him. But there were some bright spots for Tampa Bay in Game 2 there. They lost Game 1 at home. They got beat, I think it was 5-1 or 5-2, and I think really Boston just rode that Game 7 momentum into the game and kept it going. But in Game 2, Tampa Bay saw some turnout from some of their star players. Andre Palat had a goal and an assist in a 4-2 win. Tyler Johnson had a goal. Braden Point had a goal and 3 assists. They're going to need that Palat, Johnson, and Point line to stay hot if they are going to make it past Tampa Bay and if they're going to have a chance to make it past Washington or Pittsburgh.
Hey, that was, if they can win Game 3 tonight, though, then they get home ice back, and that could be huge for them, right?
They'll get home ice back. That will be huge for them. If they can keep Boston to 2 or less goals again, I think it's huge for Andrei Vasilevsky's confidence, who was a little rattled after Game 1, but he made the right moves in Game 2. As a goaltender, you have to have quick memory loss, and he had quick memory loss, came up with some big saves, and he's looking to keep it going again tonight in Boston.
Sam, how's your bracket looking?
So far, it's not terrible. All I really lost was Anaheim Ducks, which was just a disappointment like none other, and of course Toronto, who I had beating Boston originally. But other than that, pretty good. I mean, on the other side of the Eastern Conference, we have Washington and Pittsburgh going at it, another classic Crosby-Ovechkin matchup. Washington, after losing the first 2 games at home to Columbus, everyone was scared, thinking, uh-oh, what's going on in Washington? They had Michael Neuvirth, their backup goalie, as the starter because Braden Holtby had been injured all year and had struggled a bit. But everyone knew if Washington was to have any chance in the playoffs, Holtby would have to start playing like a number 1 again. And after game 2, when they put him in, he was not scored on for the next 4 periods. He started playing like the old Braden Holtby, and Washington won the next 4 games straight, including 3 of them in Columbus. Ovechkin was on fire in that series, and he's stayed on fire so far. They're up 2-1 after losing the first game to Pittsburgh. They won the second game at home, and they won last night in Pittsburgh. Ovechkin scoring the game-winning goal with just over a minute to go. So that was a huge win for them. Ovechkin has 2 goals and an assist in this series. Ovechkin has 3 goals and 2 assists in this series. He's been playing very well, and he's looking to keep it up. Same with the rest of his teammates in Washington.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll talk about last night's game in a little bit because it was a crazy night. It was a crazy night.
Sam,
I can't believe it. I actually got more rounds right in the first round than you did. I got 7 out of 8.
You got 7 out of 8? Who'd you have going through? Boston?
Well, I had Winnipeg losing, and boy, do I look foolish for that.
It's all right. Not as foolish as me having Anaheim. Come on, they got swept.
Hey, I'm just saying the Jets look mighty good right now.
They do look good. They look scary. I mean, they gave Nashville quite a lot to think about last night in their comeback victory. But, I mean, Winnipeg has looked good. They have, in my opinion, in front of Tampa Bay, they have the best power play out of the 8 remaining teams. They do such a great job at moving the puck around the outside, and they're always looking for Mark Scheifele right there in the bumper slot in the top of the circles there. He can pick up that puck on a clean pass, send it anywhere on the ice, or he can take a quick shot on net, which wound up leading to the tying goal last night when he got the puck in the slot on the power play. Rene had to come up with a huge save, and who was on this front door there to bang home the rebound but the captain, Blake Wheeler. And Winnipeg wound up just cruising after that point to an easy 7-4 win over Nashville.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. I know a lot of people stopped watching it early on. They're like, oh, we'll just watch something else. And, man, that was one that you wanted to keep on.
It was one that through the first period, it gave me so much hope for my prediction in Nashville, being able to go into Winnipeg and just cruise. But, of course, they just let me down there. But this series, if anyone likes a slugfest, this is going to be the series to watch. Ooh. Through the first 3 games, these teams have combined for 25 goals.
Wow.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
Wow.
Winnipeg has 15 goals in 3 games. That's unheard of against a guy who's up for the Vezina Trophy, nonetheless. I mean, Rene's one of the best goalies in the league, and he is just getting shelled.
This is a matchup of a couple of really good goalies, right?
Yep. Pekka Rinne and Connor Hellebuck, both of them, like we were saying in the original playoff show, they're both up for the Vezina. They've released the runnings, and they are 2 of the 3 goalies. The other goalie, Andrei Vasilevsky, out in Tampa Bay. But you have a spectacular showdown here, and nothing shows, though, Connor Hellebuck's ability to stand on his head and make big saves. In Game 1, the Jets beat the Predators 4-1, and Hellebuck stopped 47 of 48 shots in Nashville.
Wow.
That is a huge win for them. It's insane, and I mean, it's crazy.
Well, do you want to, we can talk about the games now, or do you want to get anything else out of the way before we get to last night's games?
Just one thing. Marc-Andre Fleury is incredible.
Yeah, he is.
Flower power. I love that man. He is an absolutely remarkable goalie. He made the best save I have ever seen in the game. In the game last 2 nights ago, actually, not last night, 2 nights ago, in Logan Couture in overtime. There was a feed from Joe Pavelski behind the net at the start of the first overtime period, and Fleury came across and tracked it down with his glove. It was an incredible save. But that was 2 nights ago, and we want to talk about last night, so let's get on into it.
Here's a quick one for you, Sam. I saw this question posed for, I believe it was for the writers at The Athletic. It may have been on ESPN, maybe both of them. But which goalie out of all the teams that are remaining would you have the most confidence in a big game? Would it be Marc-Andre Fleury?
Oh, no doubt. Marc-Andre Fleury right now. He is playing incredible. He's playing like the Marc-Andre Fleury of 2009. It's insane that he can find the same form 9 years later. I think most Pittsburgh fans will remember, I'm sure you will, when he slid across in Game 7 there in Detroit and came across to stop Lidstrom with a second left to save the game and the Stanley Cup. I mean, he is that Marc-Andre Fleury again. He's been absolutely spectacular, through the first 4 games against LA when Vegas swept him. I think he let up 3 goals. And although in the first 3 games here in this series, I believe he's let in 7, or I think it was 8 goals. Vegas has started to score again, though. He knows that he has confidence in his team in front of him to score. They have confidence in him to keep the puck out of the net. And he's made huge saves time and time again in this series. And honestly, he's the reason why Vegas is still in the series and could very well make a strong run for the Stanley Cup.
Yep, they're looking pretty strong. They are looking very good. But yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about the first game from last night in a second, Sam. And then after that, I'll have some other stuff, just big picture stuff to ask you about. Maybe we could look back on some other stuff, talk a little bit about the Avs, make you feel good about winning a couple games there.
Thanks. That will make me feel good, just to talk about the team in hockey that has more guts and pancreases than anyone else.
Let's go ahead.
Let's jump into last night.
Yeah, so, all right. Let's start with the first one. Pens, Caps. Caps are up. Okay, so let's go back to game 1. And the Caps they were up in the third period, I believe, right?
I believe so, yep. They scored the first 2 goals to come out strong in Washington. In Washington. Kuznetsov scored the opening goal of the series. I think it was 17 seconds in. Great play by Ovechkin to feed the pass to him. But in the end, they didn't have enough in the tank. Crosby came out, did Crosby things. Jake Gensel came out and continued the tear he's on. I mean, he's on an absolute demolition derby right now, though, of the Washington Capitals. The Caps may be up 2-1 in the series, but mark my word, Jake Gensel is not done with them. There have been 7 goals scored against the Caps in this series so far. Jake Gensel has been in on 6 of them. He has 2 goals, 4 assists in this series. And in the first round alone, in 6 games, he had 13 points there. I mean, he's up to 19 points right now. That man is playing incredible. He's a classic example of Crosby making the players around him better.
Yep.
Jake Gensel's a great player, don't get me wrong, but when you have a guy like Sidney Crosby who can attract all the attention and just give you freedom to roam and do your thing, it's kind of like in Chicago when Panarin was there with Kane.
Yep.
They take great players and they make them even better.
So the Caps are up 2-0. Third period, they blow it, they lose, and I'm sure you heard it from everyone, Sam. Everyone's like, oh, it's the same old Caps. It's the same old Caps, right?
Yep, same old Caps. They can't finish. They don't know how to beat Crosby. Well, they come out in game 2. They get the job done.
And then last night...
At home, you have to at least take 1. You can't lose 2 and expect to go on. Although, then again, the Caps did that in the first round, and look at where they are now. But last night... Game 3, it is all tied up 3-3. Minute 6 left in the game, and all of a sudden there is a 2-on-1. And who is the guy who's going to be receiving the puck? None other than the grade 8, Alexander Ovechkin. He gets the pass fed across him, a great play by his line mate. Goes around the defenseman, sprawled out on the ice. It looked like he almost ran out of room. Sends it across, and Ovi sends it up, and his original shot hit the post. And it bounces back in the air, and he beats Crosby with his own trick. He bats the puck out of midair into the net, and the Caps go on to win the game 4-3.
It was like, I feel like it was everything that we've wanted out of Penguins and Capitals, right? Ovechkin and Crosby going toe-to-toe late, in the final minutes. Crosby scored that amazing goal just a few minutes before that in the third period to tie it up. then Ovechkin comes back with, as you said, a signature Crosby move with the follow your shot. Like, they say follow your shot in basketball.
Follow your shot to the net. I mean, Backstrom did a great job of just holding out. Finally, he was able to slide it around the defenseman and get it over.
This is what you want. You want your two. Would you say these are the two best players in the league right now?
I wouldn't say the two best players in the league. I
most
would say
iconic.
There are two of the most iconic. In this series, they're the two best players, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, though. You want your team captains, when they're known for their scoring abilities and their offensive abilities, more so than their leadership. You want these guys to be out there and actively engage. You want them to be out there scoring goals. You want them to be assisting on other goals. Last night, let's see. I mean, the opening goal of the game, 48 seconds into the second period, Ovechkin had an assist on that. Pittsburgh counters with Jake Gensel scoring. Shocker, Jake Gensel in on another goal. Crosby gets an assist on that. You have guys like Evgeny Malkin and Phil Kessel getting assists on Patrick Hornquist's goal. And then even the other stars for the Caps, TJ Oshie, Nicholas Backstrom, picking up an assist on the tying goal there in the second. Crosby's great goal, like you mentioned, Gensel getting an assist on that one. Then, you come into the third, and Matt Niskanen ties the game up for the Caps. And, of course, Ovechkin and Backstrom back at it again, 18:53 into the period.
Yep. So that was okay, so these aren't the two, maybe not the two best players in the league right now. Are they the two biggest names, would you say?
I'd say they're up there. It's hard to say who the biggest names in the league are. I'd say it all depends on where you are geographically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Out on the East Coast there, these guys are huge. Honestly, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head on the East Coast who actually outshines these guys. You have John Tavares, great guy out on Long Island. The King, Henrik Lundqvist, out in the Big Apple. I mean, up in Toronto, Austin Matthews and those guys. Montreal's sort of stumbling around right now, figuring out what they're doing. But, I mean, I don't really see a bigger name out there.
Yeah.
But then, of course, if you were to head out west, you would have Marc-Andre Fleury out in Vegas, Connor McDavid up there in Edmonton. Just big names. You have Nathan McKinnon out in Colorado. I mean, so depending on where you go, you're going to have different people saying different names for who are the best and the biggest names, but you will always get these two in the conversation no matter where you go. You cannot talk about the best in the game without at least bringing up these two. So they are definitely up there. To put a label on them, I'm not going to be that analyst who does that just because as soon as I say it, of course, neither of them will score another point the rest of the playoffs. So.
Okay, well, I guess I'm just thinking the longevity of their careers over the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
These are your big faces of the league that you've had.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Crosby, I mean, such talk about him since he came in, being praised as the next great one. I mean, he's lived up to the hype. He just seems to keep getting better and better, and Ovechkin just keeps putting the puck in the back of the net, 600-plus career goals. In the regular season, I mean, he's on pace that he could potentially break Wayne Gretzky's record of goals in a career. But, I mean, he still has, 6 to 7 years of consistent scoring to be able to do that. And to be able to put those kind of numbers up into your 38 and 39, it's definitely going to take hard work. But I think if anyone can do it, the Russian machine can.
So I'm going to make a comparison. I'm going to compare these two guys to a couple of stars from another sport. Do you know where I'm going with this? All-time great guys who came into the league at the same time?
Yep.
Who?
I'm going to guess we're going with LeBron and, I don't know, Melo?
No. Not saying that one. I'm saying Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Okay.
They were both rookies 1979 to 1980. That was their rookie year. They had a bunch of signature clashes in the NBA Finals. Now, obviously, you're never going to get Crosby versus the Caps in the Stanley Cup, but they've had a lot of great playoff duels. The Penguins have been on top of it so far. Maybe this is the changing of the guard here, but to just see these guys on the ice at the same time, maybe a little later in their careers now, but they're still playing at an elite level. I mean, it's pretty great.
I mean, yeah, it's great stuff. These two guys do not like each other when they're on the ice, and even off the ice, they don't like each other. They have respect for one another, as all great players do. They know the time, energy, and effort it takes to get to the level they're at, and they respect what each of them bring to the game. But, oh, man, Ovechkin would love a chance to hit Crosby with his head down.
Yep. Man, there was a hit last night that was questionable. I'm going to ask you about it in a second, but just to clarify, I believe Ovechkin and Crosby both came in the league the same year, right? 2005-06.
Yep, just due to the lockout. So Ovechkin was actually drafted the year before Crosby in 04-05. Yep, they still had the draft the year before the lockout, but then due to the lockout, fortunately, Ovechkin had to wait a year to show the league what he could do.
And that's pretty similar to the situation where Larry Bird, the NBA draft worked differently back in the 70s, and he was picked and he went back to school, but he was the Celtics property. Mm-hmm. So he already was picked, but I guess they did come out of college the same year. They just weren't in the same draft. So some similarities there. All-time great players meeting in the playoffs. Great TV.
Yep.
Coming in the league at the same time. But Sam, you saw that Tom Wilson hit is under review now, right? He's got there's a hearing for him.
So I haven't seen the hit itself. I know he broke Zach Aston-Reese's jaw and gave him a concussion. I know this was around the midway point of the game. I mean, I haven't seen it. I know he's going to have a meeting, but I can say this without seeing the hit. I've seen Wilson hit before, and I am sure that, in the playoffs, he's trying to make a big play, make a huge hit, and he probably got his hands up too high there, probably got his elbow, probably caught a guy with his head down.
He got him I saw the hit, he hit him with his shoulder right into the chin. It was kind of a weird maneuver.
Okay.
But it only looked bad from like one or two different camera angles, because if you just saw it, you're like, oh, they just collide with each other. Mm-hmm. And then on one of them, you're like, ooh, that's a little questionable. So I think they could really go either way with this, but I'm curious what, even though not seeing the hit, knowing what you know about it, what we could see in terms of a penalty, or if they just let it go.
Yeah, depending on it, that's the thing, like you said, from some angles, it looks like he may have not caught him. Like that it could have just been, Aston-Reese lowered his head down and hit it. Honestly, I think that they won't give it a penalty unless they really do feel that he intended to injure him. If he keeps his head up, my guess is that he probably just catches him on the shoulder and probably just sends him flying. But I feel like if Aston-Reese ducked down a little bit at all, tried to brace for an impact or something, that, the collision just from the shoulder to the jaw, the hit becomes not as dirty as it may have looked originally if you think that he was hit while he was, defenseless, essentially, and didn't prepare for it or anything.
All right. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to look for. I feel like there'll probably be some kind of news released about this by the time this podcast comes out, so we won't spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
But going off of that, I'm curious to see what the fallout from it could be. But also, I was hearing a little bit of talk. I was watching a little bit of NHL Network before I got on this podcast, Sam. And
ooh, look at you.
Yeah, they do a great job on there.
They do. It's a great crew on there. They do a fantastic job at keeping everyone up to date with everything going on around the league.
So they were saying that what's going on is the Capitals are trapping the Penguins a little bit in their style of physicality. Have you seen any of that?
Just from watching the games and knowing the teams, I could definitely see it. But as far as goaltending, I give the edge to Matt Murray. As far as defensive capabilities, I give the edge to the Penguins with Chris Letang and Ole Mata on the blue line. As far as coaching, I think Mike Sullivan, he's won a Stanley Cup every year he's been in the league. Then again, he's only been in the league for 2.5 years. He's looking to make it a three-peat. So I give the edge to the Penguins, in all of the actual categories on the ice, that they can beat them in, except for physicality. I think Washington knows that, Pittsburgh is not a very physical team. You have to out-hit them You have to just want it more than them, basically. And, you're not going to outskate Jake Gensel or some of these guys to the puck, the faster guys on the Penguins. But you can definitely give them a shoulder on the way, get them off their game, trap them, like you said, and make them play your game. And from there, you kind of have to take the momentum away from them and do what you can to win.
Yeah. So interesting stuff to look for there. I'm curious to see what the fallout is from that hit, and how much more chippy this series gets, because it's clear these teams don't like each other, Sam. But I'm going to ask you now, I believe you picked the Caps to win this series coming into the playoffs, right?
I did. I picked the Caps to win this one originally in 6. How are
you feeling about that?
I'm going to change that now from Caps to 6 to Caps in 7.
Okay.
So I still think Washington is going to finally slay the dragon this year. I do think they make it past Pittsburgh this time. I think that Ovechkin is going to honestly put the team on his back. I think he's going to get some help here from Braden Holtby, from guys like Kuznetsov, Tom Wilson. Once he's back, he's that third line on that Ovechkin-Kuznetsov line. He's that third guy up there, and they need big things from him. So I think he's going to help take away some of the pressure from Ovechkin out there, which is kind of also the reason why they have him up there. We've seen that he can bring physicality with his game. And I think a guy to look out for in that series for the Caps is going to be Lars Eller. In Game 3, in Game 2, he had 3 assists, and was a huge part of the Caps picking up that win to even the series up before they went out on the road.
Do you think they needed that one last night? Was that one they needed?
I think they needed one of them at least in Pittsburgh. I originally thought they were going to win Game 3, and I think Pittsburgh's going to win Game 4 here. I think the Capitals are going to go home after Game 4 tied up. They're going to win Game 5, and they could very well take it in Pittsburgh in Game 6, but I think that Pittsburgh starves off elimination, and Washington, though, regathers themselves, and they win a nail-biter, potentially even overtime. How great would that be to see Washington finally slam in overtime at home?
Man, that would be...
In Game 7, that would be insane.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be absolutely insane. It would be an unbelievable story, but like they say, there's nothing like playoff hockey.
No, there's not. We haven't had too many games in overtime yet, have we?
It's been hit or miss depending on the series. Vegas and San Jose have gone to overtime the last 2 games, and they're
picking up more this round, it seems.
Yeah, definitely. Although Washington and Columbus, I think, went to overtime a couple times in the first round.
I know for sure.
Game 1, yep. And I think there was another series, I can't remember which one, that had a couple back-to-back overtime games.
Yeah, not sure. But the sense I got was last night, seems like a game that could really swing a series, Sam. I'm curious to hear what you think of that. I'm also curious to hear, what do you think about, are the Capitals in a better spot now that they're playing with a lead in the series? Because I heard Ovechkin say something, I believe it was before the series started. He's like, a big key is we just got to be playing ahead, because a lot of times we've gotten down against these guys and we haven't been able to come back.
Yeah, and I'm going to answer those in reverse order. It is crucial for Washington to play ahead in this series, or even. You do not come back from being behind to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
Which is why it's almost impossible to answer the second question, but I'm going to give it a try. As far as a series-shifting game, if they were playing Boston, if they were playing Tampa Bay, if they were playing, honestly, any other team except for Pittsburgh, a team that has been in this situation before the past 2 years, that knows what it takes, a team that can turn it on and just pepper your goalie with shots and goals, as we saw in the first round. Any other team but the best team in the league, and it is a crucial momentum swing. But it is the best team in the league, even if I don't think they're going to go all the way and win the Cup. Pittsburgh is the best team in the league. I mean, they do it again and again, year in and year out. They do such a great job from the bottom up, from the coaches up to the players performing in the big games, to the stars coming out and actually performing. which is why it's so difficult to say whether or not it is a momentum-swinging, series-shifting win. I think the Capitals definitely go into Game 4 thinking they have some momentum, and I think it does kind of bite them in the rear end there in Game 4. Like I said, I think they're going to lose it, but I think they'll be able to stay ahead from here on out in this series, and this way they can make it through to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. It'll be interesting to look for. It does feel like things are a little different this year, and man, that'd be a good story for the city of Washington, D.C., because their teams have been cursed.
Mm-hmm. It would be a great story for the Capitals, huge for Ovechkin to be able to break through this Crosby and the Penguins wall.
Absolutely. So let's get over to the game last night. Sam, are you sweating on your Nashville pick?
I'm not sweating. They gave me a lot of confidence through the first period last night to be able to go into Winnipeg. It may be the smallest stadium in the league. It only holds 15,000, I think like 800.
It's a unique atmosphere there.
It is a unique atmosphere, though. I mean, those fans are just absolutely insane. They get so loud. The players feel it. Blake Wheeler was saying today how you can feel the electricity in the air. It is unlike anywhere else he has ever played. Nashville last night, I had such high hopes when they went up 3-0 in the first period. But then, of course, they let up 4 goals in the second period. They get a tying goal in the third, but then, of course, they let up 3 more. They had me sweating a little bit, but I think that series is going to come down to which goalie, can self-destruct a little bit less. Like we said, there's been 25 goals in 3 games. I mean, Hellebuck's been no saint either. I mean, he gave up 5 goals in the game the other night. So it's all going to come down to, which goalie self-destructs and which one keeps it together. And so, I mean, the bigger story in this series to me, the biggest story right now is really, is it that have the goalies been a disappointment, or, are the offenses just too powerful for any goalie in the league to stop? And I personally believe that it is the goalies have just been a disappointment, and that Pekka Rinne hopefully can find his form. If not, I believe that Nashville has the better backup in UC Saros over Tampa Bay. And so I think Nashville can actually take this one, and I think the whole ice is going to be crucial.
You mean Winnipeg?
Winnipeg's backup. Yeah, I think, and then Hellebuck's backup. And I believe that Nashville actually can take this one over Winnipeg, and I think the home ice is going to be crucial. I think Nashville can take this one in seven games to move on to face Vegas in the Western Conference Finals.
It was a great game last night. How many times can I say that? It was a great, it felt like such a back and forth momentum swing game. Yeah.
And really, because it was, I mean, Nashville sucks the life out of the building. Winnipeg does a great job battling back to suck the life out of Nashville. Nashville sucks the life out of the building once again. But the Jets just refused to die. They refused to let their engines burn out, and they kept going.
I like that there with the Jets and the engines, what you did there.
I'm pretty good at that one, striking lightning.
Yeah. Well, that was, so that was, how about Dustin Byfuglien, though? I mean, that guy was just sniping last night.
That guy was great last night. He had a great one-timer last night for his second goal. The first goal, he came in and he just let it rip. His second goal.
Yeah, he launched it.
Instead of trying to, launch the puck the second time, he did a great job at catching the puck on his stick and just quickly snapping off a snapshot, something you don't expect from Big Buff. And he beat Rinne clean and just slipped it right past him.
Yeah. So
and that's a big guy too. I'm sure everyone's seen the videos of him manhandling 2 of the Predator players after the whistle. And I mean, he's got the refs all over him. He has both of his arms up, and he's just holding onto the player's face mask. And these poor guys, they can't do anything. They can't even get a hand on Buffalo.
I loved him on the Blackhawks. He was great. He was. Sam, if I'm remembering this correctly, he was playing forward and defenseman at the time.
He was sort of that 7th defenseman or 13th forward when you needed it. and he was all over the place. He's one of those guys, kind of like Brett Burns throughout his career out in San Jose, who's played a bit of forward, a bit of defense. He's just that versatile, and he's a true utilities man. He can play whatever, and to still be a quality player while playing all these positions really speaks to the guy's hockey senses and his abilities.
Absolutely. So we don't have a whole lot of time. So you have anything else you want to add on that game or that series, or do you want to go over to some of these other ones that we haven't talked much about yet?
Let's jump on over to the other series in the Western Conference there. Both Vegas and San Jose came into this series having a week off. The question was going to be, how hard is it going to be for these teams to start back up after sweeping their first round opponents? Vegas proved
both those sweeps were pretty surprising or impressive, I would say.
Yeah, they definitely were. I had Anaheim over San Jose. I didn't see San Jose coming in and playing that well. Then again, I guess I didn't give them too much credit for the Vander Kane deal, who played a huge part in the first game. And in both of these
the
games
Kings
here,
were a good test for the Vegas come out, and they mopped the floors with them.
Oh, yeah. And really, their defense was great. Their goaltending was incredible. They just did a spectacular job, Vegas did, of clearing the garbage out in front and taking care of business. And actually, I want to jump this in here because this just came through. Tom Wilson has been suspended 3 games for the hit on Zach Aston-Reese.
Wow.
So he will not be back until a Game 7, if there is one.
Does that change your confidence in the Capitals?
No, because I still think it's going to go 7, and I think Tom Wilson's going to come out angry, and I think he's going to score a goal in Game 7, potentially even the series winning one. But I got to say, after seeing the hit, he left his feet clearly. He sort of jumped up there a little bit to try to put as much weight as he could. 3 games, I think, might be a little much for the playoffs. But definitely a game or 2. But I think it's the NHL trying to take a stand there going, hey, you pretty much punched the guy in the face with your shoulder.
Yeah. They're trying to send a message across the league. Mm-hmm. They don't want guys getting injured from chippiness.
Yeah.
And then having to lose guys in the playoffs because that sucks.
Yeah. With that being said, now with the suspension, I don't see too much of a response from Pittsburgh, obviously. I don't see him going out and trying to attack anyone. I mean, that would kind of be what Zach Aston-Reese would have done. He would be that guy, the enforcer on an enforcer-less team. But now I think they're just going to come out, and I think Pittsburgh's going to dominate the next game. But I just wanted to throw that tidbit in there on Tom Wilson being suspended.
Thank you for that. All right, so anything else with the Golden Knights, or is there another one that we haven't talked about?
No, we kind of got them all. I mean, I'll just recap. I think Nashville still takes this series in 7, even though they kind of blew it against Winnipeg. I think Vegas takes this one over San Jose. I have in 5 games or 7 games, I think that Vegas wins tonight. They win it in 5. I think they lose tonight. They'll take Game 5 at home, lose Game 6 back in San Jose. I don't see San Jose losing at home in a do-or-die situation. And I think Vegas, though, comes back home and takes it in 7 if that happens.
Yeah, that's a big game, Game 4.
Yep. So this one tonight is going to be huge. Like I said, though, Washington in 7, and I think Boston's actually going to beat Tampa Bay in 6 games. Originally I had whoever came out of that series beating Tampa Bay in 6, but I could be wrong, and I'm kind of hoping I'm wrong just because, let's be honest here, I do not like sports teams from Boston. I am very biased that way. Ever since the Red Sox beat up on my Rockies in the World Series, I have not liked them. It's been a hate-hate relationship for the past 11 years.
That was one of the coldest World Series ever, I'm pretty sure. It was very cold.
It was freezing out there. I was absolutely miserable standing in those stands. But I think Boston could take this one, in 6 games. But we'll see. I mean, Tampa Bay's up 3-1 right now after the first period. That secondary line of Point, Johnson, and Palat have all 3 goals, I believe. I know they have at least 2, so if those guys keep scoring, could be trouble for Boston. But those are my picks for the second round and to move on to the conference finals.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll have to get you back on around that time, probably 2 weeks from now. Those games will be starting.
Probably.
A little less than that, maybe.
Week and a half from now, I'd say. Next weekend, probably the 13th, that Saturday, or the 12th, they'll start.
You got anyone in the Kentucky Derby?
In the Kentucky Derby, I do not right now. I'm excited to watch it. Of course, every year there's always Run for the Roses.
There's a horse named Gronkowski.
Yep.
And I've been told do not bet on him just because of his name, because he's 75-1 and he's not as tough a competitor as Rob Gronkowski is.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Don't bet on him for his name. Past years I've been the one to pick, the horse with the famous name. 2 years ago, Nyquist, from the Red Wings. I would have been the one to place money on Nyquist. Then again, though, he also had a lot better odds. I think he may have even been the favorite going in.
Yeah.
But, horse racing, I love watching it. I'm not one to bet on it just because I know nothing about the sport.
Yeah. It's dangerous. I don't want to encourage gambling on this podcast. There are other podcasts for that.
Oh, well, then I better keep my mouth shut.
You're fine. Don't worry. Okay. We pretty much hit everything, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we hit everything. These series are going to be great. For those that need something to watch, definitely the Nashville-Winnipeg series, or if you need an earlier start time, if you have to go to bed early like I do, that Washington-Pittsburgh series is going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next one will be tomorrow. Both those games will be so.
Both of those games tomorrow. I believe 6:00 and 8:00 Central Time.
Hey, that's not bad.
No, that's not bad. But then again, I'm not going to be up for the end of that second game. No doubt about that.
All right, Sam, I got a good tease for the next time that you come on. I got a good question that I will ask you next time you come on, okay?
All right.
Here it is. And do not answer, because this is how we work a tease in, okay?
You trust me, I'm the master at teasing.
Great. So, your favorite NHL jerseys?
Oh, I can go on for this one for days. I'll even send you a couple photos that you can tease them with.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a spot to put those, but you know what? We could do a separate podcast just on sports uniforms over the summer after the season ends, and we could rank them or something like that.
That would be a good one too. I'm gonna tease your tease with another tease though.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. So for anyone who's interested in one of the ugliest sports jerseys of all time, go online and search John the Fisherman Islanders jersey. You will not be disappointed. It is one of the ugliest sports jerseys, but believe it or not, it is not the worst. But you'll have to join us next time to hear what is the worst sports jersey.
That's good. What about that jersey you had in the back of your car last weekend?
Oh, that thing was fine. That thing's just camo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an ugly jersey, but come on. I mean, there's plenty worse.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right, we'll do that another time, but thank you, Sam. Anything you want to promote on here? Twitter handle, Instagram?
No, not this time. I saw no one followed me Twitter-wise last time. Thank you very much, because I actually don't do anything on Twitter. I'm happy to promote that I am not writing a book because the Avs are not going to win the Stanley Cup Finals.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. The one thing I will promote, though, is Mark Moser's call when Sven Andrighetto scored the game-winning goal in Game 5 for the Avs against the Predators. To give anyone who a bit of a highlight of it, you have to go and see it, because all of the pancreas and stomach jokes I have made tonight will make so much more sense to you, and you will laugh at potentially the greatest and most obnoxious sports call, and really it's just a head-scratcher as to what he is yelling, because you do not understand why he is talking about pancreases and stomachs at a hockey game.
Okay, I'm gonna need to listen to that too.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And then, after you listen to that, maybe you'll just want to listen to this podcast for a second time, so it makes more sense.
There you go. Just the beginning. I talk about the gutsy team in hockey, I think, in the first 5 to 10 minutes. So really, you just have to come back through and catch us again for a second time.
Yeah, I was just about to make one, Sam. How about this? When you're making your picks for your bracket, this semifinals, conference finals, whatever it may be, trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your gut.
Trust your gut, because if I had trusted my gut the first time, who knows? I may have picked better than you in the first round.
Depends on what you were eating that day.
I can guarantee you it wasn't pancreases.
All right, that's a good place for us to end.
We're getting weird here. That's a good place for us to sign off on.
All right, Sam. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Take care, Jack.
So there it was, Sam Quiat making his return to the podcast. Did a great job. Lots of fun stuff there. Always enjoy listening to him and talking hockey with him because he knows a lot more than most people I know. He probably knows the most hockey of anyone I know, really. So definitely we'll have him back on. Thank you to everyone who has been listening to the podcast. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and subscribe to Press On Sports on iTunes. We're actually on YouTube now. We don't have a YouTube channel per se, but the podcast is available to listen to on YouTube now. So we are putting it out there in more places. It's on the blog post. It's on YouTube. It's on Podbean. It's on iTunes. And I'm so grateful for everyone who has been subscribing and listening and just promoting the show, coming on the show. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. So next time, we are going to be talking some NBA. I got a couple guys who I'm going to try to fit both of them in. I'm not sure, but Jordan's going to be with me sometime early next week. We'll talk some NBA. I might have another podcast in the meantime, however, coming out this weekend with my friend Tyree Thomas, and we will also talk some basketball. So lots and lots to continue to get to this busy time of year. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. Keep listening along. I hope that you're enjoying these. And for now, I'm signing off. Bring in the dancing lobsters.